Thank you for taking this moment to breathe and to listen to what can change your life forever. My name is Ragne Sinikas, and I'm the founder of Starpreneurs TV, How to Dominate the Decade talk show, World Women Conference and Awards, and the creator of Coral Desk. My mission is to empower through education. And thank you very much for joining us today. This month, September, is truly about the entrepreneurs, the strong leaders and women, and also men from Estonia who have the international experience, which all of them, including me, we have gone through fire because we didn't have much of role models coming from Soviet Union, yet their names are today very well known already internationally. So it is my distinct honor to bring to you today Kriss Eglite. She's a seasonal entrepreneur, and when you read her biography, I would love to read her book because it was truly fascinating. But without any further ado, Kriss, tell us your story. Who is Kriss and why Kriss is doing what she's doing today?
Hi, Ragne. Hi, everybody. Well, I'm flattered that you thought my story was worth sharing. But yeah, I come from kind of a diverse background. I grew up in Soviet Union. I grew up in a family that everybody played tennis in. And so naturally, I was basically living on tennis courts most of my youth. But from there, I ended up, thanks to the sports, I ended up getting a scholarship actually in the States. So then I lived 7 years in States. So then I got to kind of experience the other end of the spectrum. And I've always loved traveling. I think it's also thanks kind of to the sports because you start early on and you get used to kind of getting to know new places, new people. And I would say that a lot of the things that drive me today are definitely related to kind of the background where I came from and what, kind of what fires me and what interests me. So for me, I would say basically why I'm an entrepreneur is I love freedom. And I would say it's definitely something to do with the previous experiences, that the freedom to make my own choices and freedom to basically live my life the way I want to. So that's in short who I am, freedom seeker.
Wow, I just had the aha moment, and I think you just clicked for me why the freedom is so important, because every single interview which I have done with Estonian, the word freedom comes out in different and various shapes or forms, but it comes, and today I understood why. But let's talk about your passion and purpose in life. I know that obviously it has been changing throughout the time and the journey, but what would you say today? What is your passion and purpose in life?
My biggest passion is actually learning more and more about kind of myself first of all, but the world in general, and my passion is to share it then, and how I've kind of found my current mode, how I do it is I'm a jewelry designer. So I actually, from the beginning, it's been about kind of getting the message out, something that I want to share mainly with women. It's probably because that's what I'm experiencing mostly. So, but it's been fascinating because sometimes it's something that's very strongly within me. And when I get it out to the world, I find out that there's so many women that respond to that message. And it actually helps me as well because you feel this sense of community. And at the same time, you feel like, when somebody writes to you how certain piece with a certain message help them through something tough in life. For example, you would understand in Estonian, I have one bracelet that says Mind ei murra, which is unbreakable. And the short story is I had my second kid and that's when this one came. But, not everybody has it because of that, but I've heard so many stories where that sentence has helped people to kind of keep going. And I would say that is my passion. I love hearing how, other women are maybe finding the courage to do what they really love, or the courage to go after their dreams, because that in turn then inspires me back. So it's kind of this this relationship with the just society around me, I guess, where I find everything kind of what inspires me and gives me the passion. And yeah, that's what I'm about.
What would you say, how do you distinguish yourself in business and in life? We all, like, especially if we go more deeper and talking about your career choice, there's a lot of people that are doing it. So how do you distinguish yourself that people are coming to you and they buy your jewelry and they just feel that relation? And we heard about the message and all of that, but when you started, like, what did you feel that why people are coming back to you?
I think it comes not just in jewelry design, but in general, you have to have something to say. You have to have something to share, whether it's a service or a product, but it has to have meaning. You can't kind of just come up with it because, I don't know, you just want to sell it. I mean, it has to fix something, help something, you know, kind of, and it has to be honest. I believe that if you are very honest and you have the courage to really show yourself, that's what people respond to, that you can't fake it in a way. And I believe that's kind of what my customers saw in me, because I wasn't trying to sell them anything, but it was just me sharing. And generally, you know, then people respond to you and share back.
You mentioned in your biography the vital skills. Let's talk about how you have really leveraged on those vital skills in your entrepreneurial journey. So what are those vital skills in your opinion, and what has really helped you as an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. So obviously it is subjective. It's the ones that matter to me, that I have found very useful in my life. And surprisingly, they started early on, actually. That, as I mentioned, I was an athlete. I played tennis and I played on competitive level. So what it kind of, and it's not a team sport. So, so what it forces you early on to do is to take responsibility. To take responsibility whether it went bad or if it went good, the same way, you know. And I think as an entrepreneur, taking responsibility is vital. I mean, you can't point fingers ever. I mean, you are the last kind of link, you know. And same time, kind of this hard working. But what I've learned in addition to it, hard working works if you're doing something that you also love doing. Because then it's not really energy taking. It's kind of like, you know, you just have this energy, you know. And I, for ages, when people would say, oh, you're so hardworking, when I started my jewelry business, I would say, really? It doesn't feel like it. I mean, I'm just loving it, you know, I'm enjoying it. But in hindsight, yeah, you have to, I would say, maybe to have the discipline to kind of keep going. And sometimes you would get tasks maybe that you don't love so much. So you would kind of understand that certain steps you're going to do, and then you can see the bigger picture where it's going to take you. So you don't need too much outside kind of hoorah and people going, wow, amazing. It comes from within much more. So those, I would say, to get started with your dream are vital, and to keep going with it, because it's going to change. And then the next thing probably is kind of this adaptability, that I think the fact that if you travel a lot and you experience different cultures and you meet different people, then that's going to help you with adapting faster and being less judgmental. And I think that's important as an entrepreneur, not to be too judgy about everything, including yourself, that you try things and you keep open eyes and you keep kind of, I think the hardest lesson for me actually was at first, when I make a decision, I would like to stick with it. It's like, no, like, you know, no, I made this decision, but to kind of be gentle in that term too, that you go, oh, okay, it was wrong decision. Fine, I can change it. I don't have to stick with it just because, you know, I kind of have said it out loud. So those kinds of things. And I think having fun is also really, really important, not to forget it, not to get too serious about it, because it is serious at times, but kind of to step back and maybe realize it's still just a part of your life. I mean, your work or your career is not who you are completely. So those are the things I think, not to get too attached to any roles, kind of. It's just what you pick to do.
Beautiful. I mentioned in your introduction that you are a seasoned entrepreneur, and why I did that is that you have really tasted every single type of entrepreneurship, I think. So you also have worked for your family business. What would you say there? Like, we know that there are a lot of, especially young people that are sometimes given this incredible opportunity, but not always this is something which is their passion. What can you say? What did you learn the most from that experience?
People skills. I think working with your family, it's, I mean, nobody's like just nice to you, because, you know, when you don't know people too well, everybody has this kind of politeness and nicety. When you're working with family, it's very straightforward, you know, and there's no sugarcoating or any of that. But I think the people skills was essential, but also then kind of, it's easy to share ideas. There's a huge amount of trust, and that's the positive side, that you don't, there is no kind of office politics really, because it's clear and everybody dares to come up with their ideas, and there's a lot of sharing actually going on. Also, when somebody does something good, they are told pretty much right away, you know. So, I mean, I worked with my mom, so obviously, you know, I would say that the hardest part was when I discovered that I was done with it, that I wanted to change, I wanted to get out. And then it took my mom, I would say, at least a year to actually fully accept it. That breaking apart part, that's the hard one. And even nowadays, you know, I have little girls, so I've kind of gone back towards this tennis thing. And she was like, oh my God, Kriss, you still remember all this? And I'm like, well, yeah, but it doesn't mean I want to do it. So I think it's, the other second part that was difficult was when you do something and you kind of get pretty good at it. You know, there's no fear anymore. Like, do I know how to do it? Or you can do it eyes closed, you know. And then to pick something completely new that you have no clue if you're going to be successful at, that's kind of also hard because, you know, as a competitive athlete, like failing wasn't exactly my strong point, or doing it gracefully. So you are pretty competitive to begin with. So that was for me definitely something that kind of I had to develop to just be okay with it more. But it's been worth it. So
that's
with mom.
I think yeah, and I think it's a very valuable experience that you shared with us, because I think there might be even people that are listening and they are like maybe not into it, this experience yet, but they know that it's coming. So I think those very valuable points that whoever you're listening start to write things down. Let's talk about your let's say living abroad experiences as well. So you mentioned that you studied in States, and I know that you had the experience, and most probably for everybody that are watching from US, it's something that you have experienced yourself or someone close to you. So what would you say, how did this 9/11 affected you in a way, and what did you see happening in the community?
Oh, yeah, for me, it was actually quite traumatic because I spent all my 20s then going to university, and the university was very close to New York. So basically any moment I got, I would spend in New York, you know, and I really loved New York, and I still do. And I had this weird kind of experience, and I don't think I'll ever forget it, is because from Hoboken you could take the boat over, and you had the Twin Towers always when you would go in. And I remember at the time we were out with a bunch of people, and we were thinking like, oh, like, I think we talked like, oh, let's take this route, let's go by the Twin Towers, let's go see or something, you know, and it was evening time already. And one of them said, oh, like, we can do it any day, like, come on, where are they going to disappear? And they actually said that. And I think it wasn't more than, maybe it was a week later only, but basically a week later, that's it. And it's like so shocking to the system. And I remember me and my sister, when we saw it, and you could see it in where we lived in New Jersey. I mean, it was, you know, you could see it from pretty much anywhere. And we watched it on TV, and I think it took us at least half hour to realize it's actually happening, because you just can't believe it, you know. And then I remember when, obviously, then the way Times Square is like, there's no people, and all these eerie kind of, it's crazy. And I remember going to see the spot later on, and you do get very emotional. And I did have friends at the time whose husbands either worked in the building or so. I mean, I knew people who were in there. And it was also surreal because we immediately tried to go home to let my parents and my grandma know that we are okay. But at that point, it hadn't even reached yet Estonia. So they had no idea, like, what do you mean of course you're okay, you know? So it's all these kinds of, all these different things. And I think parts of it was why I moved back was probably because of it, because it makes you kind of crave this security and safety and your family. And also kind of, it was attached though at the same time to the fact that I just finished my master's degree, and I hadn't scored a job yet. And so I was in this kind of in-between limbo anyhow. And it really, I mean, it just makes you want to be close to the people that love you, and that, yeah, this security or safety feeling. But on the other hand, when you saw how, I mean, New Yorkers are amazing. I love New Yorkers, but their sense of community is incredible. I mean, it's really like to see how they came together and they helped each other. And it really was, in that sense, I would say, it's not just New Yorkers, but anywhere where you see things like this happen, how people can come together. And even, you know, now you can kind of see there are these, with the virus and everything, there are these kind of support groups coming up, and people are helping each other. And I think in a way it also gave me kind of this glimpse of how amazing people can be, you know, that they are there for each other.
This is beautiful. And I was curious to see how that type of experience can impact you, even if you are foreigner in a sense in that country, but still you are part of the community. So that's why I wanted to bring up this. But let's talk about your most memorable moments in your career or in your life where you felt that this is the turning point, like this is something which is huge.
Okay. Well, I have actually sort of a few. One is not so pleasant, because I think sometimes change happens through something that's extremely unpleasant. Because I guess, you know, some people need the stronger push, including me. So, and then some have been really joyous and beautiful and uplifting. And two of them that were kind of close by each other is, one is, all my jewelry, when I had moved out of Estonia again, got stolen. And I wasn't a huge jewelry person, but it was, you know, like from your grandma or your grandfather pieces, and things that you have memories with, or things you've gotten on a trip somewhere. So for me, all my jewelry held actually a lot of emotional things in it. And until they were all gone, I actually didn't realize that they're not just a piece of something, you know. And this kind of forced me, yeah, maybe even to start thinking about jewelry in general. I would have, I mean, asked me 15 years ago, ask anybody who knows me, like, do you think Kriss will start making jewelry? They'd be like, what? What? You know, so maybe this kind of not so wonderful thing had to happen to kind of nudge me a bit to even consider it. But then soon after it, I was kind of in a place where, again, I was thinking, do I move back to Estonia? Do I stay at that time UK? You know, I was kind of out of a relationship. So everything was out of limbo again. And I'd wrapped up all my work stuff in Estonia and nothing had yet developed in UK. So you really, in every sense, you are kind of like, okay, you know, like, what do I do? And I'm not 20 anymore. You know, I was like, I think 32 or 33. And you read about how it's got to be figured out by then, you know, you got to sort it out. So, so apparently, you know, after 33, it's just, you know, done. So there was a bit of this pressure and kind of, I felt quite lost. And I think that was probably, for me, the most difficult. I like to make decisions. I like to be in charge. I enjoy, you know, doing. And this was probably about 3 months period where I just kind of wasn't doing a whole lot. And I wasn't making decisions yet. And I remember how uncomfortable that was for me. But in hindsight, I now understand also how vital it was to just stop, you know, just to be for a bit, you know. And I afterwards, I've always laughed that, you know, I had 3 months of this difficult period and that was enough. Then I said, okay, that's it. You know, no more. I'm gonna just gonna start doing, you know. And then I talked to some friends and they say, you know, they go for a year or more, you know. And so I said, thank God I'm so impatient, you know. So, but this was probably the unpleasant thing that really pushed me to live even stronger, even more passionately. And kind of, that was maybe also part of the point where I really started putting myself first. Like I really went, okay, Kriss, this really is your life. Like, you know, enough of pleasing everybody else and just focus on yourself. And then the second one was amazing experience I had. I went shortly after that to Arizona. And there are friends of mine, they're from different tribes, Native Americans. And the funny part is that I discovered all of this after I had moved away from States. And maybe I blame it, you know, East Coast, New York, different life, you know. But I spent about 3 weeks in Arizona and I traveled and lived and stayed with them and we did ceremony. And their culture is so rich and so old and there is so much knowledge in it. And the way they, as a society, come together, it was really amazing to see because a lot of it I relate to. I think us as Estonians, we're very much nature people. You know, we love going to the forest and we love our, you know, the sea and the big stones and so on. And so something in it, the way they relate to nature is very familiar to Estonians, I would say, to a lot of Estonians. But unfortunately, because of the way our history went, we lost a lot of it. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about our traditions from, you know, that far back and how did it used to be. So I really, really appreciated them opening up and really showing me their life and sharing, you know, and it's, it really changed me in a very positive way because it kind of, I don't really know what happens there because, you know, it's part of it is mystical basically, but it works and it's a beautiful way of relating to the world and relating to other people and relating to nature. And it really kind of gives the message about why we're here or what this life is all about, a very different perspective, much deeper one. And for me, that's what kind of happened when these two things came together. I guess something cracked open in me, I guess would be the right words. and I'm eternally grateful for them for being so gracious and so loving and warm. And us Estonians, I think in that sense, we're quite closed up. I hear a lot when foreigners come here, you know, it's like quite far away, everybody. So that was another thing that changed me maybe as well, kind of, and to learn that, I mean, you live 7 years in States and you're not aware of something like this to that level. And I'm really happy I kind of found this, because yeah, it really touched my heart.
Well, sometimes they say that things come to your life at the correct time. So maybe you were not ready for that before, or you wouldn't have appreciated the same way that you did. But let's talk about now your let's say the passion that you have found now to express your creativity, to express your message, to express really who you are through designing the jewelries. And you have also nominated for the highest fashion award with your brand, and this is the New Vintage by Kriss. So tell us about the concept. How did it all started, and how did you end up being nominated for this very prestigious award?
I can definitely say that time when they called me and told me I was nominated, I thought they'd called the wrong number or something, you know, because generally jewelry designers are not nominated for it. It's usually the fashion designers, but it started for me really, it was first I lost the jewelry. Then I discovered, you know, over 30, I don't want to wear plastic. And then I discovered I have a particular style I like. And I happen to have, and I think these fortunate coincidences happen to us if we're kind of open to life, that I had two friends, and that one was a jeweler, and I lived in London at the time. And I just kind of met up with them, and they said, you know, like, why don't we just, you know, kind of as a fun thing, let's make something. And the best part is that I kept saying, oh, no, like handicraft's not my thing, you know. I'm a sports girl and this and that. And when I sat down and they showed me a few things, I actually discovered the therapeutic thing when people stop thinking. And, you know, whether it's coloring something or, you know, you're working, basically this analyzing brain stops working. And it was so meditative that I think I was for 5 hours, just like, you know, they would ask, do you want something to drink? Do you want something to eat? And I was like, no, I'm good. And because I was at the time in this tough place, as I described before, this sense of, and I didn't meditate then yet, I hadn't found meditation for myself. I couldn't switch off the brain, basically, just this constant, you know, and suddenly I was free of it, you know, for hours, and your focus goes on something else and you feel wonderful, and, you know, your body relaxes and all these things. So I started to do it just purely because it felt so amazing. And secondly, I got to make the pieces the way I like it, you know, as I'm pretty particular. And it was strange that I thought that at first I didn't have a plan for having this brand or anything, you know, really, but it kind of went really fast. And I think the good thing is that I do recognize, like, something in me reacts to things, so I can feel the flow, kind of, you know, when you know, oh, this is working, okay, and you just keep going then, you know, and you kind of trust the instinct inside that it is the right thing, and then you don't maybe know the next 100 steps, but you take the next 3 that you can see already. So from there it went so that literally just people would come up and ask, and, you know, slowly. But then the big step for me was when I moved back to Estonia, because Estonia is a tiny country, so it's, you know, a small community basically. But I think it's true pretty much anywhere. The community that you grow up in, you kind of get boxed in. And so for me, I was, you know, this tennis family and the tennis player and so on. And I had never ever gone to anything like art school or, you know, these types of things that would encourage you to think that you can do this. And I came to Estonia and I was really like, oh my God, like, how can I just make jewelry? I mean, people are going to say, who does she think she is? And what do you mean? What is she doing? And it was nice that one of my sisters was really encouraging at that point. But then I remember my mom and dad being super worried. Like they were like, what is she doing? What is she doing? And even my husband at the time was my boyfriend. And he said, you know, Kriss, I don't know if I make enough money for you to make just jewelry at home, you know? And I was like, oh, you kidding me? I said, I'm going to give it a try. And, you know, I'm very much, I'm actually very much legs on the ground person. So I said, you know, I'm not going to do it if literally, you know, I don't know, I don't have any money to live, but I'm going to try it and I'm going to see where does it go. And so part of this legs on the ground for me was that I continued with the tennis stuff. So I didn't want the pressure of this kind of, for me, this precious, amazing thing I found. I didn't want it to be that I need to sell a certain amount. I wanted to really enjoy it. And I wanted to have the freedom of kind of setting the value for things, because at the time in Estonia, when I moved back, there were not really many design shops, or, you know, now it's quite different. And generally it was considered, I think it's again, this Soviet background that artists should be poor, that you should not ask for money, you get to do art, you know, like, what do you mean, you know? So I wanted to make sure that I don't have to sell anything just because a certain amount, but, you know, I do it because I love it. And I always laughed and said, well, if nobody else likes it, I'll wear it. You know, I like the stuff I make. So I think the other essential thing is you have to really like what, you know, kind of yourself as well, what you're making. And then I think it took literally about, was it 9 years or something, that then suddenly, you know, I realized, okay, I have to make it into a business. And then that was the next big thing where I dropped the tennis completely. And I said, okay, I'm going to make, you know, my living out of this. That was a bit scary, but then very quickly, I don't know how to say it. It's like very quickly, almost like the more energy I then put into it, the faster the flow was. So you just kind of, and I think most of the time as an entrepreneur, you don't have a whole lot of free time to fret about things anyhow. You're just busy, you know, and you're doing, and you're like, you know, figuring things out. And then the good part about Estonia being so small is that it's an excellent testing ground. You get very fast feedback. It's very easy to meet the fashion magazine editors. You know, it's a small circle, you know, so in that sense, that kind of speeds things up for me. And I like people, you know, I like fashion. So it wasn't really a chore to go and meet them, you know, and they picked up the things, and certain people in TV picked them up, and it kind of went really, really fast. And then, yeah, they nominated me because they also, I think what they look at is sort of not just the artsy part, but also the numbers. So like, you know, are you actually selling, and are you selling outside, and are you exporting? But for me, it was truly amazing, because then for once, as a jewelry designer, you don't do really fashion shows. I mean, they don't need to be visible from far away. And it gave me this, I said, okay, for this show, I'm not going to look at the numbers, because, you know, otherwise I mean, I am pretty legs on the ground. And I said, I'm just going to go, I'm going to go, you know, do it exactly how I imagine it, how I want it. And again, I had a message that came through that I wanted to get through there. And in the end, I discovered kind of a new click in the process where I suddenly was spending, you know, I think it was 9 months preparation, which I normally don't have the luxury of, you know, really to go deep into it and think of everything, you know, and we had the video installations, and you can tell the story that much more when you can do it this way. But it was really, I mean, it was also proving to myself that I can do something that's, again, completely different. Because the first thing when they told me, I was like, oh my God, like, okay, I have to book models, and where do you do that? And, you know, I mean, I've never had to do a fashion show, and what else do I need for it? And so it was an awesome thing.
That's beautiful. And I think all those experiences are in the end of the day that why we're doing it, because you truly need to enjoy the journey as well, not to just to be focused on the ultimate goal. Obviously, you need to have the end result in mind, but if we do not really enjoy the journey, it's very hard to build something in that magnitude. I want to thank everybody who have taken time today. Thank you for showing up, and by doing so, you are really investing in your personal growth. I hope you have been making some notes. If not, go back to this video. Obviously, have your pen or paper or your whatever, wherever you make notes, and start to do so. We are going to hear now the 3 recommendations how to dominate the decade by Kriss. So be ready. And obviously we would love to hear back from you. So leave your comments, recommendations, and questions below this video, and we will get back to you. So Kriss, what are your 3 recommendations how to dominate the decade?
I would say number 1 is basically talk to people. Really listen, really talk and listen, and you will learn so much without having to make the mistakes yourself. The second is the opposite of it. Find time to be quiet and just sit with yourself. I think that's been actually one of the most important things for me, is to find quiet time and to kind of have the luxury of feeling out certain things. Maybe if you're on the fork, whether to do this or that. And the third one would be to have fun with it.
Those are absolutely incredible, and I really urge you to write down, and not to write down, but also to take massive action on that. Kriss, if someone wants to follow you, if someone wants to contact you, they are now intrigued, they want to know more, how they can do so?
Well, they can follow us. We are on Instagram, NV by K, and we have Facebook, and we have a website, www.nvbyk.com. And there you can find all our information, emails, locations. If you happen to be in Tallinn, stop by.
So the N is the new, the V is the vintage, by, K is Kriss. So you have the connection how to, if you do not have the possibility to write it down, but just to understand where this name comes from. So Kriss, what would be your last message to everybody who took time to listen to us today?
First of all, thank you everybody for finding the time to do this, because finding time is not easy. And thank you, Ragne. And my message would be that let's make every day count. You know, let's make the most of it and have fun again. I really think, and dancing helps immensely.
You see, even though we are from very Scandinavian country and up in the north, we do like to dance. And yes. Everybody, we just had also an interview with a tango instructor from Estonia. So you do see that you like all the passionate areas in life as well. So we are not as cold as we are perceived. So you just need to get to know us better. But Kriss, I want to really thank you truly for sharing your story with us, being very vulnerable, because talking about biggest lessons in your life is not easy, and also admitting that not always are we on our best and always on the peak, but what has been the real experiences going through those low moments as well. And I think I have a new thing in my bucket list. So now I'm very curious to go and visit Arizona and and find the tribe. So I might be calling you and asking for some references on that. So thank you very much for showing up today and sharing your story. And you, who you were watching and hopefully taking the notes, today you can become the hero of your life. How? By taking massive action on those points. But you can also become the hero in someone else's life. How? By sharing this video. Because this story has the power to change someone else's life. It's inspirational, it's motivational, and more than anything else, someone very own experience how to go through the hard times in life. I will see you in our next episode. Thank you very much for showing up. And I know there's a lot of you which are showing up every day. So I want to thank you. I appreciate all of you. And we will see very soon. Thank you very much.